Really appreciate it. Tim did a very good job there of describing regenerative agriculture. A very simple way to frame it is it's effectively providing nutritious food from healthy farms. That thematic is strong and absolutely growing. It's a $1 trillion market. Indeed, health and wellness sector is the largest sector of food and beverage experiencing growth. It was huge prior to COVID. Of course, post-COVID, people's recognition around health, their immune systems has only made this thematic stronger. And indeed, our consumer base, as you'll see from our sales, has really responded to that. Thanks. I'll go to the next slide. We have a very tight capital structure. As Tim mentioned, we recently did that capital raise. Our largest shareholder wanted to retain her position, showing the sort of loyalty and commitment we've got in our shareholder base. We've got a very strong group of top 20 that have been with us for the early days. And as a company that's got a very strong both for-profit and for-purpose mission, that means a lot to us. And the board that we've brought together is very strong right across the financial capital raising market with our chairman, Anthony Maslin, and have some excellent expertise in branding and exporting food, and then all the way through to the regenerative farming expertise. I'll keep moving, thanks. So the commercial strategy, the business model is actually simple. We take the best of West Australia's regenerative produce and offer it to global markets. Our strategy is kind of themed across three groups of threes. We've got our grow business, that's our core business, which I'll talk you through, which is our Dirty Clean Food brand based around both beef and lamb, but expanding quite rapidly. Our diversify, which is looking at oat products, most specifically oat milk, which is a very exciting growing market. And our innovation program is our plant-based protein, which is really very, very exciting, both in scale and size of the market that we can disrupt there. And those three, the next three is kind of our trilogy of products. Regenerative farming is about diversity, about ensuring that you're maintaining a balance both on your soil and in your farming systems, and that's why we've chosen those three. Next slide, thanks. How we deliver these products to market is through our very exciting brand. It's Dirty Clean Food. To be fair, our chairman's mother-in-law hates the name. She's not in our demographic, to be fair. The name is really targeted to a millennial and baby boomer market, where we're trying to express that dirty is about clean, nutritious, vibrant soil. Clean is about no hidden nasties. We've got an absolute wide open story. You can look straight back to the farm, to where this food has been produced. And that story is so prevalent now to consumers. Everyone wants to know the story that's backed their food. And that's really what Dirty Clean Food is offering. What we've done very well and successfully is get it into, I guess, the rock stars of food who are chefs. You've got to show quality. You've got to show that you're matching their expectations week in, week out. But also they do want a story. With that, we implement our retail strategy. We're across 30 independent supermarkets now. We think we're really getting a solid foundation there so that we can start to engage and talk to the larger national supermarket chains. And then our online has been very, very successful. You'll see in the next slide with the results. What's great about online, of course, is you've got that direct point of contact with consumers. And we're really experiencing some great growth, as you can see there. Our last quarter experienced 49% growth. That was, deep in, certainly in West Australia, the closure of restaurants. Online absolutely consumed all of that loss from restaurants. And now we call it our 1+1 approach. The restaurants, we're very lucky here in West Australia, have reopened. And we're seeing some really positive signs that this following quarter is also going to be following that trajectory. And that's here in West Australia, a relatively small market. We're very interested at looking at those eastern markets and, of course, our northern neighbours. West Australia has an excellent reputation for agricultural produce, but also logistics with our Southeast Asian neighbours, to be frank. So we're looking forward to expanding into those markets with what is a very proven brand. Next slide. I'll talk first about our plant-based protein opportunity. I mean, in simple terms, if you haven't had a conversation with someone who's either eating less meat or even eliminating meat from their diet in the last week, I'll be surprised. They're huge markets. They're open for also disruption. Really, the closer we get, particularly to the oat milk and the plant-based protein markets, they're almost cottage industry. It's not about demand. It's definitely about supply. And there's some very good networks working in that space to encourage new companies like ours. Next slide. The Australian sweet lupin is a really phenomenal food. We feed it to our sheep on our family farm, and it is an amazing source of protein. And for the last 20 years, people have been trying to understand how to get lupins into human consumption. Right now, it's a $200 million market, but only 4% of that is consumed by humans. It's non-GMO. It doesn't have phytoestrogens, which is one of the question marks over soy production. It's also important to us that it's a very key part of a regenerative farming system. Next slide, thanks. So what we've unlocked effectively is a technology that allows you to unfold the proteins of the lupin. So it's a novel process, not novel food technology. It's the process that's important, and effectively the protein is unfolded into a 3D molecule that allows it to attach to the sugars and fats and carbohydrates that are similar things to plant-based burgers. It also makes it more soluble, so potentially in the plant-based milks as well. So it really opens the lupin market up to this very exciting and, quite frankly, immense plant-based protein market. Next slide. So it's exciting because we see two fronts here. Once we demonstrate how this technology works, we can go straight to the Beyond Meats and Impossible Foods and Nestle's of the world and say we have an environmentally credentialed plant-based protein. We can go through that business-to-business channel, but also now with our very established brand, Dirty Clean Food, our very strong product development team, we could also bring out our own product lines. And we see that quite exciting in that we could do that within Australian markets, and then perhaps the B2B goes to other companies. We have a global exclusive license for the life of the patent. So it's a very secure agreement with Curtin University. Just moving along. Built a great team. We've engaged CSIROs, Food Innovation Lab. They've got some great experience with other commercial partners, people like V2 Food and APP, who you may have seen. Process partners are our food engineers. They're helping us really tie up and ensure the commercial feasibility study. They're the largest food engineering and processing consultants in Australia. Next slide, thanks. So now to go into our priorities, the first one is to build the existing business. You've seen that growth that we've achieved. We're very happy with that online growth. Also very interested in tying in close to meal kits, who we have a great relationship with too here in West Australia. We see great potential in our digital strategy in this COVID world that we now exist in. And we also see the Asian markets when things settle and air freight returns. We have good relationships with 2 Singaporean distributors that we really want to extend. The first thing they do is check, do you have a good brand in your local market? The answer is yes, we do. And so we're really ready to pounce on that opportunity when conditions prevail. Next slide. Obviously, we want to build the proposition in our online market. So we have brought in pork and chicken recently. So we've really got along with our sustainable seafood partners, we have the proteins all covered. We also have some family meals ready to go. The oat milk, very exciting market, $2 billion market. Grew at about 2,000% in US markets. Europeans effectively are eliminating almond and soy milk and replacing it with oat milk. You might have heard about Oatly, the market leader, now a $2 billion market cap business, started just over 7 years ago to really kind of get penetration. We see a lot of opportunity for disruption here around a regenerative West Australian oat product and our lupin protein, which I've given you more information about as well. Final slide, thanks. We are a regenerative company. We are very much for profit and for purpose. As a board, as a management team, we're committed to being carbon neutral by 2023. And we see food and agriculture really playing an important role in meeting our expectations around sequestration of soil carbon, but also reduced emissions as well. And actually we see that as a very important part of our overall story to our consumers, to meet their expectations around their environmental and societal values. Thanks for listening, and look forward to your questions.
Thanks, Ben. And we do have many questions. They're coming in thick and fast. How come we haven't heard about Lupin before? And then how does that compare to that massive soybean market?
Yeah, in West Australia, we've heard a lot about lupins. We've been feeding them to sheep for 30 years. There's been a lot of attempts to get lupin in its current form into food, into people's diets. But it's the texture and its inability to gel that really limits it. It's a little bit like pouring sand into a glass. It drops to the bottom, so it doesn't mix with other food ingredients. So it's got very limited uses. We cook with it rarely at home, but it's generally kind of a, yes, lupin's in there. This new technology unfolds it and allows it to really form a gel. In smell and taste from the benchtop scale, it smells and tastes like soy. So it really changes its profile. And I think that's why we're so excited about it, because it's a genuine new entrant into this. Well, I mean, the soy protein market alone is close to $7 billion per annum. So to disrupt and enter that market with an environmentally credentialed new plant-based protein is very exciting to us.
And can you talk a little bit more about logistics and processing? That's obviously a cost.
It is.
What's the plan there?
Yeah. I mean, there are great logistics to get lupins effectively to our export markets now. But that's why actually as a West Australian company, it doesn't often make sense to manufacture in WA. But when you look at the larger ingredient companies that have done well in soy, they actually do put the manufacturing facility to value add it from soybean into soy extract very close to the farms. So we see a lot of opportunity there, in that WA produces 60% of the world's supply. So we want to bring that manufacturing facility here to West Australia and then offer it to markets. And then it's, of course, a value-added product. You saw, the sort of value uplift from what is now a $500 a tonne product to, if it manages to rival the price of soy extract, it'll be anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 a tonne.
Impressive numbers. There's a question here. When do you see your products on shelves of major retailers? Also, how are you placed to scale and disrupt the innovative plant-based protein market?
With the national retailers here, I mean, we're effectively, now that we're with independent retailers and we've got those secure supply chains and that sort of consistency, we're pretty much ready in the next quarter to be having those conversations. We're very interested in offering them our proposition, go to them on our terms with our brand. We think supermarkets are actually looking for sort of a demonstration, and we align with brands like Dirty Clean Food, and we wanted to always go in to those negotiations with a position of power. Our marketing manager, Marilyn Nelson, has worked a lot. She's from Mrs. Max Pies, worked a lot with the big supermarkets, so she knows how to approach them the right way, I suppose. How do we disrupt the plant-based protein market? It's bringing something that is absolutely environmentally credentialed, but very, very high in protein. It's exactly why people are choosing to eat plant-based products, for their environmental credentials. So if we can demonstrate that as a premium plant-based protein, we really feel we're in a very sweet spot to disrupt that market.
And there's some questions around like the core differences between yourselves and VT Food and Beyond Meat.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly different in many ways, in that we've got our Dirty Clean Food brand, our oat milk, around plant-based protein specifically. What I see, and what the board and the management team see as exciting, is that we don't see V2 Foods and the Beyond Meats of the world as competitors. We see them potentially as customers. If and when we get to that point in commercial negotiation, we're happy to supply. West Australians grow over 1 million tonnes of lupins now, and as I said, only 4% is consumed by humans. If we're offering the right price indicators to farmers, supply will increase. So we see no reason why we can't offer it as a B2B opportunity, as an ingredient to those sorts of customers, but also potentially hold some back for our own Dirty Clean Food product line.
Sorry, Ben, looks like Tim's internet has dropped off there. But I'll jump in with a few more questions that we do have.
Always a relief. I'm in rural West Australia, so normally it's my fault. So that was a relief.
No problems.
Yeah.
In terms of the market research, can you explain a little bit about that you did to choose the name?
Yeah, for dirty, clean food. Yeah, I mean, we did extensive research. We used West Australia's leading branding agency. And it was really a decision by us to choose a name that was genuinely, again, disruptive. And what's exciting for us is now actually when you put a brand out, and yeah, we've done a lot of feedback. People like being a part of something a little bit edgy, a little bit pushing. You'll notice the colouring, the yellows and the reds. That's not what you see normally on the meat shelf. And that works. You've got 5 seconds to get people's attention in food when they're in a supermarket or online shopping. So that's the intent, to get that sort of capture and then get them to turn the packet over and understand the very deep story of regenerative farming and how we respect our farmers.